What's going on, everybody? DJ 86 back with another video on 86 TV. Hope you all had a good week, just chilling and taking it easy. I'm on a bit of a small holiday, but shortly we will be back in the studio. Now, living in South Africa, we usually don't get a chance to play with equipment before we make a purchase. We usually just buy blind and then decide whether the equipment is good or not. So finally I get a chance to check out the Rane 12s and the Rane 72s. I'm a bit late to this party, but nonetheless, a special shout out to NSL Services for sponsoring this video. If you need any audio equipment, they're definitely the place to go and check out. So first up, let's check out the Rane 12s. It's Rane, so you pretty much know it's gonna be built like a tank, and the construction is pretty thick and chunky. That is made to resemble SL 1200s that is already placed in battle mode, with the pitch slider being on the top and 8 accessible hot cues in the form of a touch strip. I would have preferred physical buttons, but that's a personal preference. The one key feature here is that there is no tone arm. I for one have had it with bad connections with RCAs, dusty needles and bad cartridges. When the Rane 12s were announced alongside the Rane 72, Phase DJ was announced at that time, so it kind of overshadowed this product. The setup on the Rane 12 is pretty simple. There's a power cable and a USB printer cable, also known as Type A to Type B, but it is not locked to this. You can pretty much connect it via a USB hub with Serato DJ software and it will still work pretty fine. Taking a closer look at the platter, we can see it's pretty rock solid with reinforced rubber at the back. It's like a super beefed up version of SL 1200 platter. It's pretty flat and stable. Rane says it offers 3600 ticks of resolution as well as a double torqued motor. In simple English, this should mean that the motor has more torque and with no noticeable lag. You can use your own slip mat, but when looking at the vinyl, this is where the changes take place. It is provided with an acrylic vinyl that has 3 holes drilled into it. I'm not a fan of the acrylic style of vinyl and prefer a regular vinyl, but this would be pretty easy to swap out. All you would have to do is get the correct measurements and drill out 3 holes in a vinyl of your choice. The vinyl is then secured to the spindle using an Allen key. Take notice not to over tighten when doing this. So taking a closer look at some of the features, there's a recessed power button as well as a start and stop button, your basic 33 and 45 RPM speeds. There's a nifty little trick where you hold down the 33 RPM, tap the 45 RPM, and that should give you a smooth pitch up. Although dedicated buttons would have been gladly appreciated in this case. The pitch slider is pretty smooth and accurate as one would guess. There's also individual buttons for tempo adjust of 8%, 16% and 50%. Having direct access to these buttons is pretty neat. Cue points have to be triggered from the touch strip slider. I'm not really a fan of this implementation and would have preferred buttons. But the strip is also a needle tracking mode where you can skip to different parts in a song straight from the touch strip. Just below that is deck select mode from deck 1 to deck 4. Taking a look finally at the Rane 72, man oh man, this thing is a beast. It would really take a lot of time to learn to use, but if you really do get down to learning it, I'm sure you can pull off some amazing stuff. Thanks to Rane from NSL Services who helped go through this mixer with me. Okay, so kicking it off with the front panel, there's an input for a 6.3mm jack as well as a 3.5mm jack. The mic controls have level, tonal and echo adjusts as well as on and off. There's a foot switch input and there's a massive array of controls for your up faders and your crossfader. This mixer is clearly designed for those battle DJs. On the rear there's an equal amount of inputs and outputs as well as XLR outputs and balanced jack outputs. There's dual USB inputs where you can hook up 2 laptops to this mixer to swap over seamlessly. There's also dual mic inputs and dedicated slots to slot in the Rane 12 controllers. There's also session inputs and outputs, in for auxiliary sources and out to record those mixes. Looking at the dedicated channel input, there's a dedicated line level as well as a switchable line level to phono level. This actually makes a lot more sense than just having a dedicated phono input. Lastly, there's ground posts. That's if you want to kick it analog style with those turntables. When looking at the main portion of the mixer, first up we gotta check the crossfader and the line faders. It's Rane's new Mag 3 contactless fader and they're pretty sweet. The feel is superb. The cut is razor sharp and fully adjustable. On the top right of the mixer, there's a main volume control followed by boot and session out. There's a switchable selector for phone level and CD level, as well as auxiliary. On the left hand side of the mixer, there's a level control and tonal control for your mic inputs. There's also a duck mode for the mic input, as well as echo control. Just below is the session in. This is for the auxiliary input, as well as control for the sampler level. There's also a dedicated filter knob for the sampler, which has low pass and high pass, and an effects trigger button. The headphone output is pretty beefy and is controlled by the Q level. Split Q is also on offer with Q Mix. The sound from the mixer is pretty neutral and you get a kind of flat sound. The 72 has a level control at the top, following a 3-band EQ. The equalizer offers a boost of plus 6 decibels as well as a cut of all the way to infinity. At the very bottom there's also a high pass and low pass filter. All the knobs are very sturdy and with the rubber texture on the outside and with the plastic insert in the middle. The pots are made of metal, so it's pretty chunky and solid. There are 8 performance pads on the 72. They do feel very tactile and firm. They feel pretty similar to the DDJ XP1. The 8 pads trigger various different items such as Q, auto loop, roll, sampler and slicer. Holding the shift key will get you pitch play, manually loop, pad effects, fade effects, as well as some transport controls. The 72 is definitely a beast, and once you get in touch with all the finer features, I'm sure you'll be able to murder it on this mixer. Finally, we get to the biggest part of this mixer, which is the 4.3-inch touchscreen. It displays your vertical waveforms on the screen within the mixer. There's also some pretty nifty information such as your key, track remaining time, and BPM, and whether your track is synced or not, but you can customize some of those features. There's also transport controls, and there's 2 rotary encoders provided on each side where you can browse through your library and load up tracks with a single press on each rotary encoder. The screen also serves as the XY pad to trigger effects. The amount of effects you can apply are endless. I really like how the pad is very responsive to the touch. There's dedicated buttons to trigger up to 3 banks of effects simultaneously. And there's also a depth level knob adjust, which serves as a wet and dry function. You can also trigger effects using the dual die-cast aluminium FX pedals. These pedals can be rotated 180 degrees. Pulling down on them will trigger the effect in a spring motion, and pushing them up will lock the effect into place. These pedals are the best way of triggering the echo effects. So while I was at NSL Services, DJ Cassie from Durban rocked up, and he decided to give the 72 a little workout. So check it out. And so that concludes my video about the Rane 12s and the Rane 72. They're pretty dope units. Performance is top notch and I'm sure these items will last a very long time. The one particular problem area is price for me, as these are very expensive. However, you get what you pay for. And this is why you will see professional DJs using these items in competitions such as the Red Bull 3 Style and DMC Championships. So that's it for now. Until the next video, take it easy and peace.